Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aylin Sky. I am an astrologer and numerologist, and welcome to this special forecast that I will be doing for the upcoming full moon in Capricorn. I am coming out of a holiday weekend here in the United States. We had July 4th, Independence Day, and I am a little bit delayed in the forecasting for this week. So what I was really inspired to do over the weekend when I was thinking about the upcoming energies, I was thinking about this really important full moon in Capricorn that is going to be, I think, a defining sort of moment for a lot of us. I really want to give a little bit more of a prediction personalized for each of the zodiac signs. So that's what we're going to do. This is going to be a 2-week prediction. I am going to point out where the full moon is going to be unfolding for you in your chart. We're going to take a look at the charts for each of the sun and rising signs, and then we're going to be diving into a tarot message, a special tarot message for each sign. So that I hope that you're going to be enjoying this kind of style of reading. I know for me, it is always very useful when I know what is coming up in the immediate future. So if you're new to my channel, once again, my name is Aylin Sky. Thank you so much for being here. And also, I wanted to just say thank you for everyone who has been subscribing to my podcast and also to my YouTube channel. I just appreciate you guys. Our family is growing, and I am just couldn't be more excited about it because I absolutely love doing this and I love hanging out with you guys. And I'm just getting some really great feedback. And I just wanted to say I am immensely grateful for everyone who has subscribed, who rings the bell. So do that. If you like the content that I provide here and you are here for the first time, I would love for you to be a part of this family at Uprise Astrology Podcast. Let's hang out, subscribe, ring the bell. And quickly, I do want to mention that I do have 2 other platforms where you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Uprise Astrology Podcast. So this week, it is going to be pretty chill until Saturday. This week, basically, we are going to be building up to Mercury squaring Jupiter. That is the first thing that I do want to point out. So let's get right into what this means. I am going to be pulling up the chart for everyone to see here on the channel. If you are tuning into the podcast, I am going to be describing, of course, what's happening. So don't worry. I am going to be pulling up the chart now so that I can share this with you guys. So let me go back to Saturday, which is going to be the July 9th. So let's go back to Saturday. So Saturday, we have Mercury squaring Jupiter at 8 degrees. Mercury squaring Jupiter is an interesting energy because whenever we have Mercury square Jupiter, what do we think of? We think of long-term goals. We think of an ability to gain clarity. Where is Mercury at? Well, today, July 5th, Mercury has transitioned into Cancer. So it's starting to climb up the first decan of Cancer. If you're new to astrology, Mercury in Cancer is a type of energy or a theme where we are thinking and speaking more from our emotional experience. Cancer represents our emotions, but it also works with our subconscious. So Mercury in Cancer can be an energy where we are communicating now things or things come up into our mind, our periphery, that we may have not thought about. that we feel a particular way now about certain aspects in our life. And it is going to depend on where this is happening in your chart. So you want to check out, based on your rising sign, where Mercury is at, because Mercury has transitioned today into Cancer. So you are going to be working through those types of thoughts and mindsets that will be more on the emotional realm during this time, during this transit. The other thing I do want to point out real quick before we dive into the Mercury Jupiter again is that Mars has transitioned into Taurus as well. So Mars transitioning into Taurus, this is going to be now a different energy in the sense that all of our actions are going to be based on us really feeling like that, we want to take more calculated approaches, or more of an approach that is based on strategy, based on something, again, for the long term. So Mars also here now is going to be thinking about the long term as well. Is this sustainable? Is this something that is going to get me to where I want to go? And what are the steps that I need to take? What are the practical steps that I need to take in order to get there? So two very big changes this week that will contribute to this full moon in Capricorn. But the first thing that I do want to talk about is that Mercury square Jupiter. So what you see here is the chart for July 8th. This is going to be when Mercury starts to apply to Jupiter, and then it starts to get exact on Saturday early on. So let me just go back here with the chart. So it becomes exact early on in the day. And what is this about? Well, we think about the long term, like I said before. We think about the ability to gain clarity. Whenever Mercury squares Jupiter, we have this ability to focus on both mentally and sort of emotionally now on the long term. Does this feel right? Is this the right place for me to be in? Am I going to be, do I have the necessary knowledge for me to, proceed with my plans? And those things start to click into place starting this weekend. This is going to be a really, really good energy for anyone who is wanting to really work out a process and a strategy that works for the long term. Beautiful energy for that. Okay. Now, because we have two cardinal energies, what do I mean by that? Mercury is in Cancer, and Cancer is cardinal water energy, and we have Jupiter in Aries. Aries, cardinal fire energy. So what do we see with cardinal energy? There is a quickness, there is a get up and get going. I have to communicate this. I need to get my process or my point of view across. With this kind of energy, sometimes when we're trying to work out a detail, especially when we're communicating to somebody else, we could be overlooking detail because our passion drives us forward so much that we're overlooking the detail at this time. So I want you to keep that in mind, that whatever it is that you're working on over the weekend, you want to make sure that you are honing in on the details, because this can be missed and it can actually be something that is consequential later on. So you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is that you're communicating, that you are working out and paying attention to the details as well. Because if you do, this sort of energy here, the details are so important that it can be incredibly useful and powerful, because Mercury gives feedback to Jupiter now during this weekend to pay attention to the big picture with productivity. Okay, this has to do with money. It has to do with processes that involve money and overall decision making, because the degree is at 8. So this is really important now as we're moving into the weekend, especially, like I said, if you have something going in your life that requires for you to really think about the future a lot. And what are some of the things that have to happen for that? This can be, again, anywhere where this is unfolding for you in your chart, but these are the general themes that we're taking a look at, which really is interesting because all of what's happening this weekend is also tying into that full moon in Capricorn. And that's what I want to go next into. The full moon in Capricorn be unfolding on Wednesday, the 13th, and I'm going to just go forward with the chart to the 13th. So Wednesday the 13th is when we're going to have that full moon in Capricorn at 21 degrees. I'm just going to go forward in a couple hours here so we can kind of see it exact. So here it is. Okay, this is a very interesting full moon. And I'm going to just go over the general themes right now for this full moon without breaking down the chart, because I know that this report is going to be a little bit longer because we're going to go through each and every single one of the signs. So the full moon in Capricorn at 21 degrees, what are some of the themes that we're taking a look at? Anytime we have a full moon, it is an opposition between the sun and the moon. That is how they are in the chart, in the sky. So you see the sun here at 21 degrees in Cancer, forming an opposition to the moon in Capricorn at 21 degrees. So when we have an opposition, we have to work something out. There is a breakdown of some sort, okay? This is the moon's cycle. This is what the moon is really, really good at. And it is a time where we are right now, especially right now, we are really working out the details of what we're comfortable with when it comes to feeling like we are, making something happen in our life. Are we confident in it? Is there something that we need to work out? Is there a breakdown that is going to come up with this? And that is what this full moon is going to highlight. There are some things that will be the themes because it's at 21 degrees. It will deal on the emotional realm and on the decision-making realm with rejection. That is one theme that we're taking a look at, the fear of rejection. And then also, I do see that for many of us, this will have to do with a situation where there is lying going on or dishonesty. The other thing that I see is that, feeling that your point of view maybe is more important than the other person. We could be in a situation where, especially from the weekend on, we could be in a situation where something is building where our point of view is more important, or we feel that what we have to communicate is more important than the other person. And so, there is sort of an arrogance that could be on the rise, especially because of Mercury square Jupiter and that buildup. There could be an incident that happens during that time that then also contributes and leads into this full moon energy where now it's just a full blown, breakdown in communication or some emotion that comes up where you feel that you have been lied to, or you feel that there is some kind of fear of rejection that comes up, or you feel that you have been communicated with, with arrogance, basically, that somebody else's point of view was very overpowering to yours. And now there is a breakdown that comes with it. Okay. Full moons usually come with that kind of attention. We have to work something out. So in general, with this full moon, what we're working out is the truth. This particular full moon, because it is at 21 degrees, it has a lot to do with the truth of a situation. Okay. The situation could be your truth. It could be somebody else's truth. And now both of these truths clash. And because they're clashing, there is sort of more of a detail that pops up here that has to do with the themes I just mentioned, but also the overuse of those themes. So the rejection, being misled, and then as a result, you start to see that, oh, wow, I actually didn't realize what the situation was about. There's a truth that surfaces here that sort of disrupts business as usual. And so, I would say that the questions that come up with this full moon, it's going to be an intense one, you guys, because there's a part of us that is going to take a look at, what is misleading, who is misleading, why is it misleading? And then we have to work it out. We're going to work it out because the chart has also many other things going on. We have beautiful trines and sextiles that are forming at the same time. We are going to be working out these details, but they are going to be worked out in an unexpected way. if we choose to do so. Okay, so we've got energies that are supporting us, but we have to stay true to, what's happening within ourselves, because that sun in Cancer, it is going to illuminate what is true to you, right? And opposing that, moon in Capricorn, that can be you closing off to what you want to communicate or what you feel like you can communicate at this time. And so it's really important to stay open to that, because we've got the trines going on, we've got the sextiles going on here in the chart that have a lot to do with, just up leveling, committing in a new way, to better patterns or better values, to, doing things on in an emotional realm, the work in emotional realm, where you drop perhaps feeling arrogant, or you drop perhaps, your old sort of defense mechanisms, and you start to make it work emotionally, where you realize maybe where it's not working for you. The cost is too high, because Uranus will be at 18 degrees during the time. Okay. Uranus at 18, this is us committing to a new value that lets us move forward, so there's this sort of, this insight that we're getting during the full moon as well. Like, are we going to make this work? Yes or no? And I think that we're going to make it work, because Uranus is a powerful influence at the time when this full moon is unfolding. And Uranus is also going to be in communication with the sun, basically saying, okay, I can really commit to this feeling. I can commit to making it work in this kind of a way. So it's not just, doom and gloom with this full moon in Capricorn. It's just really powerful in the sense that we are being asked to look at our lives differently by really diving into the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter has to do with how you feel at this time in your heart. Okay. And this is really, really important. Okay. Really trusting yourself, trusting what it is that you're thinking, and trusting the way in which you can communicate and get your point across is going to be another key factor here. And understanding that if you're addressing the past or some situation that has occurred where the boundaries have been sort of crossed, because we are going to be with the South Node point at Scorpio at 20 degrees. And this is where, the sun will be communicating with the South Node as well. This is sort of like, all right, I don't want to repeat the past. I don't want to be in the same situation again. I realize I must protect myself from these situations, but at the same time, I can also hold my ground and make things work, in a new way. And so there's sort of a decision-making period that comes with this as well, in regards to your emotional up-leveling. And then so you sort of close off a part of how you were handling the past in a particular manner. And so now you're going to really just, put that boundary down that helps you to cultivate a really good connection to yourself, the future, the situation. And so this is what I'm seeing in a nutshell with this, with this full moon. We are seeing also that, Venus is going to be, Venus is now applying to the square in Neptune. I'm going to be talking about this in the later report a bit more, because the next day after the full moon, that Venus in Gemini square Neptune in Pisces is going to become more exact. This is going to be about relationship dynamics that have to be changed, or there is a turning point in relationships, for the better or for the worse. So we're gonna dive into that. And then we also see that Venus is trining Saturn at the time of the full moon, and that is going to be, again, for the long term, the quality of your relationships, investing the right way into your relationships, making things work in the right way for you, right? But also working with the other person, working with understanding the other person's point of view is a potential here that can be a positive outcome with this full moon in Capricorn, if you are challenging the way that you are approaching the situation in a good way. If you are challenging also the misuse of power, because Capricorn has to do with power. So there can be challenges of power, of control, and decision making that are under review during this time as well. And I think that it brings sort of into question, what are some of the things that are not working, and why are they not working? This can involve administrative work. This can involve things that are sort of, eh, on a higher level as far as administration or even government, right? We can see that in the news because it's at the higher degrees. We can see governmental work that is going to be pointed out. There's something that is not working, that is going to be highlighted during this time as well. And any kind of work in any company where there's processes put into place that need to be revised because there is a discomfort that is arising out of the way in which things are being handled. So that is what this full moon is going to highlight, the emotional truth of those situations, and people have to work it out. So it's not just you, there are other people involved in this, full moon, because we are seeing it at the later degrees. Okay. So I hope that all of this made sense. I just feel like I just talked so much. But I hope that I, explained this full moon in Capricorn energy for you in a way that you can kind of prepare a little bit as to what is coming. So to recap real quick, what is this full moon in Capricorn good for? It is good for addressing any kind of form of, fear around rejection or things that don't feel truthful, and then bringing the truth more into the forefront, working with those things, going up against things that are challenging you, where things are being, overpowered, and just speaking from a place where you're trusting yourself. It's something that is going to work out in a way where you are freeing yourself by speaking towards the misuse of power or control or decision making. So that is something that is, I think, going to be super useful during the time of the full moon. So what I want to do next is I'm going to set the chart up so that we see every rising sign on here. I'm going to change the screen real quick. I think this will be a little bit better so I can see you guys. And let me grab my tarot cards, because I am going to be drawing tarot for every sign. And if you're joining in live right now, I want to know where you're tuning in from. Where are you watching from? I'm going to grab a little bit of hydration while you guys do that. So welcome anybody who's joining. We are going to be taking a look at where the full moon in Capricorn is unfolding for you. So this is essentially a reading for the rest of July. Okay, it's a special report for the rest of July. We're taking a look at based on your sun or rising sign, where's the full moon unfolding? What are the energies that you can expect? Some of the things that you're going to work out. And then we're going to draw a tarot card and see what other message comes through. And we're going through all 12 signs, starting with Aries. So let me pop up Aries and Aries rising. Before we begin, I want to say that if you know most of you obviously are going to know your sun sign. The most accurate will be the rising sign. Okay. If you know your rising sign, you will have a better idea of where the energies are unfolding for you in your chart. And that'll be like the most accurate. Okay. The most on point for right now. So you can listen to your sun sign or your rising sign. So Aries, sun or rising. Let me just go back, or I can just go forward. Let's do that. Okay. So Aries, sun or rising sign, this full moon is going to be unfolding for you between your fourth house. The sun is going to be in the fourth house. The moon is going to be in the 10th house. This is going to be a time of really paying attention to home and family and emotional foundation and security, and what that actually means for your career. Okay. You are going to be working out some new truths that arise here. And this can have to do with family members that are now starting to sort of maybe communicate to you in a way, whether it's non-verbal or verbal, that there is some needs. There are some needs. There are some things that need to be revised, and decisions need to be made when it comes to, maybe even spending your time or making decisions as far as how you're making money and then what happens at home with your time. Okay. Because Capricorn and Cancer is about valuable time and how we're spending this time. So for Aries and Aries rising, this is going to be a time where you could be revising these types of themes. I would say that there could be maybe some fear that arises in regards to career, because there has to be some decision making that is coming up here between you and maybe some key players at work as well. And so now you're going to have to work this out, with your family, because the dynamics are shifting. And so this full moon is going to be highlighting these areas. Your spiritual advice card is the Emperor. So whatever it is that you are going to be focusing on, this is going to be a time, I think, that you are going to be surprised how much things are going to work out for the better. I think that the other thing that you are going to be pleasantly surprised about is actually how much, the word that pops in is autonomy, how much autonomy is kicking in as soon as you address the decision making. There's a decision making that's very important, and I feel like you're going to take a couple of days to kind of think about it. And then once you are settled with what you want to do, you are going to now start to move forward, and you're going to feel a lot better than what you thought. And you're actually going to feel like you are, really empowered with what it is that you're doing. And it's a new game. It's a new game when it comes to what's going to happen with home and family, or your own emotional comfort zone, and what is going to happen now next in your career. So there's a career move and there's an up leveling of family that is going to come out of this. Okay. Now moving on to Taurus, sun or rising. Let's move forward in the chart. This is going to be unfolding for you guys between your 9th house and your 3rd house. Okay. So the 9th and the 3rd house will have a lot to do with mindset, your attitude toward anything, really in as far as like communicating with other people. And then the 9th house is going to be a time where you're taking a look at your purpose. You're taking a look at some knowledge that requires for you to dive into, or you need to deepen the knowledge. And so there is sort of this new approach or this new mindset that is required in order for you to gain this knowledge. Some of you could also just be reviewing some things you used to believe and now you don't believe them anymore, because something is breaking down as far as control or decision making in regards to your environment, because the sun is going to be in the 3rd house, illuminating your environment, illuminating basically your mindset, and then also the way in which you are communicating amongst, people in your life. And so there is sort of this change that is occurring, this piece of information that is changing maybe something at its root belief. Okay. Let me just pick up the card that fell out. So for Taurus and Taurus rising, we see the spiritual advice card is the 7 of Wands. So I feel like for many of you, what comes in the last 2 weeks of July is that you are going to make this decision to take a time out. You need to step away from things in order to make a better decision. And this better decision will have a lot to do with you taking the time that you need in order to understand your needs, understand how to couple your needs with your belief. So if you have the opportunity to take time for yourself and to kind of recharge, it is really good. Okay. The outcome is going to be very good. This is a very important time for you to restore, because some of you also feel that you're burned out at some level. So you need a fresh perspective. And this fresh perspective needs to come by you saying, okay, I need to just take a step back here. Like, I can't just continue running on low battery, and I can't continue in this kind of a way. But you have to get honest with yourself. And I think that that is what the Seven of Wands here is communicating as a spiritual advice card. So Taurus, take the time right now to really, honor what is coming up within you and honor some time back to yourself. It will really do wonders. Okay. So moving forward to Gemini and Gemini rising. And what I'm going to do actually here is I think, are you guys able to see the chart? I have it a little bit minimized. Here we go. I think you should be able to see it now. Maybe. No, it didn't change anything. Okay, so we'll just keep going the way that we have been doing it. So Gemini and Gemini rising, for you guys, this is going to be happening between your second and the eighth house. These are really important houses, This is the house of money, productivity, the second house, and then the eighth house is the house of shared resources. But in general, okay, shared resources, it's your commitments at a deeper level to someone. How much do you trust that person that you're willing to make that kind of a commitment? That's what this house is about. So there's a breakdown that happens here, and it has to do with money making. It has to do with productivity. If it's not money, it is productivity. And I think that during this time, what is sort of coming up is, what do you actually need in the material realm in order for your productivity to work? And then as a result, what boundaries do you need? This is a boundary subject, There might be some boundary crossing that is going on. And the reason this is going on is because I think that you feel sort of this pressure to live up to a certain standard when it comes to money, or a certain point of view. But that is being challenged because it's not true, because you're being asked to think a little bit broader, okay? And to dive a little bit deeper into what you feel to be true about money. I think any kind of, conversation that you can have right now in regards to money and investigating sort of your approach to money is going to do wonders. But also with this moon card, I have this sense that you are going to start to discover a very important piece of information between you and a close person in your life, or someone even in the past, that you there's something not right about the situation, or there was some lying or manipulation going on, and you got to dive a little bit deeper into the subject, and it comes from the past, because you see, Cancer has to do also with all of the memories that we have been collecting from the past, the experiences, the emotional values of those experiences. So for you, Gemini, there is sort of this sort of secret that comes out when it comes to money, and what you believed so far, and how much this situation, I feel, has overpowered your point of view, and you weren't able to see something that is so important, that is life-giving, oxygenating this area of themes of money and productivity, and in the materialistic realm as well. Because there's some things that you don't have to continue to do the way that you want to do or the way that you're doing them right now. You can do them different, but this breakdown with this full moon is sort of driving all of that up to the surface, so that you can dive a little bit deeper. So you can take a look at, okay, so what's the truth about this situation? What are the dynamics, and where have I felt this manipulation? Where has it impacted me in a way that I need to really take a look at this? Okay. So that is what's coming up here for Gemini and Gemini rising. Moving to Cancer and Cancer rising. So for you guys, what an interesting time, because this full moon in Capricorn is happening between your first and the seventh house. The first house is the house of the body, the house of your journey, the body that you're in, the journey that you're on. The first house has a lot to do with your character and the image of that as well. And then also any kind of action plans that you put into place. Okay, you personally, you pioneering action plan, things that you're doing that are really important to you, that build sort of a particular habit. And so this then communicates to the seventh house, which is all about your relationship in regards to bonds to other people. Okay. So any kind of bonds, relationships that you have to other people, one on one, more personal sort of bonds, they can be legal, they can be non legal, they can be, a verbal sort of agreement. Any kind of relationship that impacts you where you have to practice sort of self mastery. There's a breakdown that happens with this full moon, and it has to do with you becoming really honest about what is not working when it comes to the plans that you have at this time, and really just what is not working about it, because relationships are impacted in a way that there's sort of like a sacrifice that comes with this. So that's one way. The second way, I think, for some of the Cancer sun and rising is that you are going to discover perhaps that, okay, my relationship is not being honest. My relationship is not telling me the truth about, how much they are doing something, and then it impacts them in a particular way, or it impacts you as a result, as a side effect of it. There's something that they're not being, truthful about. So it can go both ways. It can be you becoming more truthful with what it is that is not working for you, or the relationship becoming truthful and then bringing it up to the surface. There's a breakdown that happens with that. And so now you got to deal with it. Okay. The spiritual advice card for you is the Seven of Cups. Okay. So anything at this time that is incredibly confusing, you must take a look at it. You must clarify this for yourself. You must really understand what is causing all this confusion at this time within yourself. And it has to do with specific relationships. And somehow, I know this sounds really, this might be true just for some of you, but what I'm seeing, the image I just got was like there's three relationship dynamics in particular that play a role here. So you may have to sort of dig in a little bit deeper as to what's happening here. Where do you feel like that there is dishonesty? Start there. That's what the Seven of Cups is basically saying. The moment that you dive a little bit into it, the moment that you become a little bit more honest about what you want out of the relationship, you're going to start to realize that it was more simple than what you thought to communicate that, to get your point across. But as a result of it, you are starting to master your, your self-image, or your sort of the way in which you portray yourself to other people in a new way as a result of it. Okay. So that's what the Seven of Cups here is basically saying for Cancer and Cancer rising. For Leo and Leo rising, this is going to be happening between your 12th house and the 6th house. Well, the 12th house is a time of solitude. The 12th house is basically us asking questions about the world, us asking questions about our spirituality. This is the karma house. This is the relationship to God house. And then the 6th house is, what are you doing in real time with your spirituality, with your faith? What are you doing in the day-to-day from the moment that you wake up until you go to bed? What are the sets of responsibilities that are coming up here? So for you guys, this is going to be happening between these two houses. And I think the thing that I'm getting for a majority of you guys is that you must have a particular pattern put back into the picture. And this pattern is perhaps a ritual, or it is a non-negotiable that is sort of like was negotiable for a while. Let's say that you needed to spend time with family, or you want to spend time with family. And so you've been negotiating that for a while, or you need to spend time in the mornings, really meditating or something like that. And you have negotiated that for work or for sets of responsibilities that now you come to this point where you realize, you're losing a lot of your own sort of confidence in this area because you are not paying attention to this part of your life that is really, really important. And so this is what this full moon could bring up for you guys. And your spiritual advice card here is the devil. Yes. So with the devil, there's several different things. Okay. But the first thing that pops into mind is, okay, this is an addiction towards something that you're doing in the day to day that you are going to become incredibly aware of at this time. You're gaining this awareness. You're going to become aware of this. It is going to be a situation, I think, that you can't avoid this anymore because of the potency of this full moon. So it could be that there is an impact here for you to detach for the better. Okay. Detachment and attachment. These are the key words for you, Leo. Detachment is good at this time because it's a full moon in Capricorn, because anything that you make a decision about right now that spiritually is on point for you, you are going to be able to stick to it. There's a powerful full moon, and I feel like many of you needed to hear that. To restore a sense or a part of you back, you must detach from things that feel manipulative, from things that overpower you, that create a sense of misery because you're so attached to it. This is really, really key for many of my Leo and Leo risings. I'm going to take a sip of water because I need to drink. Hydrate. If you're in the chat, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm always curious. I know somebody said Virginia earlier in the chat. Welcome. All right, you guys, let's continue. Virgo and Virgo rising. For you guys, this full moon is unfolding between your 11th and your 5th house. This is a time where you are paying attention to your public reputation, the social world that you're in, your friends, group minds, people that are, on the same as you, but it can also be for some of you in regards to technology. Okay. The 11th house can be like technology in general, like ways in which we are using technology to create a connection. Okay. So anything that falls under the umbrella of that is the 11th house. That's where the sun is at for you. And the 5th house is going to be a time where you're taking a look at your purpose. Okay. There is a breakdown between these two worlds. And the breakdown is, okay, the truth lies somewhere in between. All right. There is sort of this moment that arises, I think, for a lot of Virgo and Virgo risings where you may have been taking a look at something in an extreme way, and you have to reconsider the truth. Okay. There are missing pieces that surface, and these missing pieces will be very important when it comes to what you want to associate with. Where do you feel that your heart belongs? Where do you feel that your who you are and what you stand for is welcome? There is a breakdown here that needs a new approach. You're going to find the approach, but you have to be truthful about what you feel to be true in your heart. It can also be a time for some of you, if you are parents, there could be a breakdown here in regards to, your children, or in regards to parenting, where you are like, okay, I need to actually take a look at the situation, and I need to approach certain aspects when it comes to how I connect to my children or my romantic life or, my purpose in a way that is whole again. Okay. This can be something that comes up during this time. Okay. It's going to be felt because it's in the higher degrees. I think for a lot of the Virgo and Virgo risings, this is going to be a time where you guys are just going to feel this in a way where it's transformational for a lot of you. And you have been transforming. A lot of the Virgos have been, they have been, really coming out of this, this cave that they have been in, especially with relationships. And so a lot of you, I feel like, have been working on yourself, and this work is going to pay off in the long run, and I think that right now, any other thing that is challenging sort of your social world, it really is just prepping you for, bigger things, almost like a debut. You're prepping to come out into the world with a whole nother way in which you're going to be connecting. And so this is sort of like a preparation phase, this full moon in Capricorn. So let me just shuffle the cards for Virgo and Virgo rising. What is the spiritual advice? If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. Welcome to my channel. I hope that you like what it is that I create here on my channel. Subscribe, ring the bell, hang out. I'm here every week. I put out more content, and I will be putting out more content more and more. There is one card. 6 of Cups. Yes. So there's an aspect of you that you have been overlooking this aspect, okay? The necessity to connect to important people in your life and important groups, important emotional connections, okay? These are important emotional connections. And perhaps I feel for many of you, you have been dealing with not knowing how to approach a situation where you feel that you have been challenged, and so you kind of had to take a step back because you didn't want to do what you did before, just a cold cut, like out of my life. Now you are going to be able to understand how to do things in a way where you don't have to go to this extreme. You don't have to disconnect in an extreme, where you're still restoring your purpose, your sense of purpose, your joy, and you keep that joy, but you also are able to communicate and get your point across in a much more soothing way, in a much gentler way, and in a softer way. But this full moon brings the breakdown. Okay. So an unexpected scenario can happen here where, you get sort of pulled aside and you are dealing with the situation now where opinions start to come up, and I'm just giving an example, okay? And so now you're going to have the opportunity to respond to it so different, to respond to it for like from your emotional world more, like things that you're experiencing and how you're experiencing them, and asking for how you can make it work. I think that is what the 6 of Cups here is as a spiritual advice, because this is an emotionally grounded place, the 6 of Cups. The 6 of Cups is a place that we are taking into consideration what is most important, right? If there is a breakdown that happens, let's say 2 people are fighting. Sometimes when they're fighting, all we're doing is just trying to overpower the other person. And how far do we get? Not very far. If we want to preserve that relationship, if we want to preserve that thing. And I think that what you're getting the opportunity for here is to preserve what's most important and to bring that out into the light, to bring it out into the picture, to make things better, to build trust or keep the trust or strengthen the trust between you and the things that are most important to your heart, most important in your world. So that's Virgo and Virgo rising. Okay. All right. Libra and Libra rising. Is anybody in the chat a Libra rising? I'm a Libra rising. Anybody in the chat Libra rising? Sometimes I have to say, we see astrology, but like, if you're into astrology and you're like on social media and you like dive into a lot of the you know, like content that's out there, people throwing shade at Libra risings and Libras all day long. Oh my gosh. Because, we generalize everything, and everything is just so generalized in astrology. And we just take a look at one sign and think it's just like that one thing about them. And it's just not true. We are everything, all 12 signs, all of us. Just the energy is concentrated in different parts of the chart. And so I just think it's just so funny. Okay, so for Libra and Libra rising, this is an energy that is going to be unfolding between your career house, the 10th house, and then also your home life. Major changes for a lot of the Libra risings. I know in my life, since almost like the end of 2018, I definitely have been feeling this, like Pluto, especially being here in the 4th house, like you guys have been transforming what it means to have a family. But really, you have been transforming what it really means to have a home or feel comfortable in the emotional world based on taking a look at what has happened in your upbringing, because that's what the 4th house is all about. Now, that full moon that is going to be unfolding here is going to bring up a very important aspect that will have to do with leadership. Okay, with parenting. For some of you, it will have to do with parenting as well. It has to do also with your legacy. Okay, now that you have been restoring the parts of yourself in the 4th house that were they were out in the open, like you had to deal with it. Now it is going to be, okay, what processes do I have to put into place to make my career happen, to make certain things in my world that are really important to my legacy? In order to make it happen, what do I need to put into place? You have to get honest with that. There is a sense of rigor that is going to come into place. There's also a sense of sort of like recommitting to a new plan that I think for a lot of you could be coming up during this time. And I think that what comes up here is that, especially because the 10th house is out in the open, right? Like it's a house where anything, especially for you guys, it is a house where you're out in the world with how you feel, what you do. And this is a very important house. And this is a house that has to do a lot with the fear of maybe being rejected in the world for what it is that you are doing. This is going to come to a breakdown in a good way, because you are going to overcome this fear by realizing you don't have to have this fear, but there are dynamics that will play out that will show you that you are over this portion of your life. The spiritual advice card that fell out for you guys is the Knight of Swords. And look at that. Okay. This is a time where you're going to be able to move forward. This is a go time. I would say that 5 days after this full moon, many of you are going to be in a completely different emotional field when it comes to your career, when it comes to legacy, when it comes to career goals. Because emotionally, you will feel like there's a part of you that has healed truly from incidences in the past that would just diminish who you are or put you down for who you are. Okay, so this is going to be super important for a lot of Libra and Libra risings. Just make sure that you are being graceful with yourself during this time, and that you are recognizing the opportunities that come with whatever breakdowns are happening in regards to your career. Okay. Scorpio and Scorpio rising. We're moving forward. Scorpio and Scorpio rising. This is going to be happening between your 9th house and the 3rd house. Wow. A lot of the Scorpios and Scorpio risings have been working on really their big picture sort of plan, the big picture point of view. A lot of it has come through relationship dynamics for a lot of you guys, but then for many of you with this full moon in Scorpio, full moon in Capricorn, this is going to be a time where you're really expanding what makes you feel purposeful and what is the truth about that and how you are actually approaching that purpose in the day-to-day. This is going to be super important for many of you because there are scenarios that have happened and will continue to happen for the next 2 weeks where you start to realize that you might think that you're communicating one way, but then it is perceived in a completely different way. And there is a particular ingredient that you are going to come across that is very specific knowledge, very specific details that will matter in your communication. Okay, this is going to come up for many of you. And the truth of that, because I feel like some of you are going to be dealing with overreactions a lot. And a part of you is going to be surprised by that. Okay, because some of the people that have been maybe overreacting, you were not expecting it. And so you have to take a step back, reevaluate this. Now, if what I just mentioned is not you, if you're not dealing with communication with other people, what you are going to be dealing with is how you talk to yourself, what you believe as a result of it, and then improving how you are talking to yourself in a whole new way. Like your belief and how you are with yourself is going to change. Your mindset, your attitude to certain things are going to change. And I feel like for some of you, again, not true for all, right? Because it's a general reading. For some of you, this will have to do with you feeling like you want to improve a particular skill. And in order to improve this particular skill, you have to commit to a course, to a educational, course or something like that, to some kind of schooling, to some kind of, there is some kind of certificate maybe even involved in this. And so during this time, you get to that truth. You get to that moment where your action around that is, or what you need to do and the action around that is becoming clear. Okay, so that's for Scorpio and Scorpio rising. All right. Sagittarius rising. All right. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this is going to be unfolding in your 8th and 2nd house. Well, the 8th house is definitely getting the illumination of intimacy, boundaries, and anything that you are working on right now that you're in your psychology. Okay. When it comes to how you trust people, because the 8th house ultimately has to do with trust. It has to do with trust. It has to do with how much you trust someone in order to, share a bank account, how much you trust someone in order to, have intimacy with them. And then the 2nd house is your house of values. And under the umbrella of values, it is, monetary things. It is, the values that you have within the physical items, obviously in your home, and then also productivity, right? So for you guys, this is going to be a time where you are definitely going to be expanding what it actually means for you to make money, how you're committing, how you're trusting though other people, and the misuse of trust. Like somebody could be using your time and your productivity to have it's like disadvantaging you, but it's advantaging them, So this could be something that comes up, and it could be like, okay, if you speak up about it in the past, you would have had this fear of rejection, but now you're more willing to deal with it. But there's some kind of, breakdown of this that is happening, the way in which you're spending your time, the way in which you're spending your money, the way in which you're committing and trusting. And this has to do with some important people in your life. It is going to narrow down for many of you to 2. Okay. I feel like for many of you, it narrows down to 2 very important aspects or relationships. Okay. The spiritual advice card for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising is of Swords. The King of Swords is a card that has a lot to do with perspective, point of view, perspective. Okay. It also has to do with, okay, what is the blockage for you to really see everything from the highest level? King in the cards, King is the end stage of the swords, right? For here, King of Swords. It has to do with your point of view, It has to do with knowledge. It has to do with being able to see a situation for what it's worth. Okay. King of Swords. But because it's the king, it has a lot to do with the ability now to overcome something that perhaps in the past you would have not known how to deal with it or how to communicate about it. So this is a very important pivot point for many of you to speak up and say, I can't be involved like that again. I can't be doing this again. Some of you are going to circle back around to a similar situation you've experienced before, where someone is sort of taking advantage of your productivity, money, your values, your skill sets in a way. Okay. So this is going to come up. And I think that the King of Swords basically here says, you're going to see it. You're going to see what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, and who you need to become in order to get through the situation. So I believe it. I think that you are going to be able to overcome a situation that feels like it's going to lure you back into this same manipulative, state, and you're just not going to do it. That is the opportunity here for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. Moving on, Capricorn and Capricorn rising. I'm going to take a sip of my decaf coffee and my water. So give me one moment. All right. Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. This is going to be unfolding. Capricorn. Sorry, you guys. I lost my train of thought. Capricorn and Capricorn rising. This is going to happen between your 7th and your 1st house. So 7th house, relationships, the bonds to other people. This can also be business partnerships, right? 7th house. And the 1st house is you. It is anything, how you portray yourself to the world, how you, even your body, okay, your image, everything that comes with that, like what you show to the world. And so this is what's happening right here for a lot of Capricorn and Capricorn rising, is that you are redefining what it means to be you, especially in relationship dynamics. Okay. There is sort of this, this moment, I think, where you begin to realize, the image that I'm getting is you start to see how much you sacrifice of yourself for like relationship dynamics, that you don't have to do it that way anymore. And part of it is going to be humorous, actually, after the full moon is unfolding. I think for many of you, you're starting to see sort of the truth about what you've been doing when it comes to giving of yourself in relationships, that at this time, you're going to create a new behavior around that. And you might be working on this new behavior because you start to realize that maybe that's not even what the person really wanted from you in the first place. Like, you start to get deeper to, okay, I don't have to be this person. I can actually free myself. They're not expecting that of me. I'm not expecting that of myself anymore. And so the expectations start to change between you and others that are, very important for you, relationships that are very important, to you. So the expectations are going to change during this time, but it also requires for you to become a little bit more truthful about your goals and your plans. Something about the goals and the plans could be changing as well. So pay attention to that during this time. The spiritual advice card for Capricorn and Capricorn rising is the Empress. Beautiful. This is the best card, in my opinion. Love the Empress. Okay. See, in this card, what I absolutely love are the fish on her back, like the wave, the water that she has on her back, because that's complete trust. Okay. You opening up to trusting your relationships and yourself in a whole new way. That is going to be a given. Okay. In the next 2 weeks, you have the potential to just lean into any kind of problem, anything that's going on in your life in a way where you can rebuild trust ground up. fast. You don't even have to wait. Like, you can do it now. It doesn't even have to be a waiting game, okay? Because you're going to have that same reciprocation from the other person or the people that you're dealing with. So really, really good next 2 weeks for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. That's pretty solid. Okay, Aquarius and Aquarius rising. For you guys, this is going to be unfolding between your, let's go forward. If I didn't have the chart up for Capricorn, I apologize. But here is Aquarius, Aquarius rising. This is going to happen between your 6th and the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of karma, spirituality, relationship to the divine or God, however you define it. The 6th house is the house of your day-to-day routines, your lifestyle. What do you do from the moment you wake up until you go to bed? How do you do it, right? What's so important about that? And the organizational pieces, right? So you are definitely working through some reset, I feel. For many of you, this can be a reset with this full moon in Capricorn. There can be a breakdown here in regards to you feeling like that you have had enough time in solitude. You have had enough time reviewing things or details in your life that were really, really important. And now, you don't want to review it anymore. It's action time. And so you get more truthful around what you want to take action on, what routines you want to go back to, and what new routines you want to implement that will allow for you to live truly alive, connected to the divine, connected to your spirituality. And so I feel also that there is going to be, for many of you, again, it's a general reading. For many of you, I feel that you are going to be in this space where you're going to break up, not with a person, but with a pattern or a particular lifestyle expectation that is just like, it's out the door. You just needed that little bit of a push. And that is what this full moon in Capricorn could represent for you. You need that little bit of a push to just say, I don't want this thing in my life anymore. Like, I'm going to break up with it. And then you just break up with that thing. Like, you just don't do that routine anymore. You don't live that same old routine anymore. And your spiritual advice card here, look at this, Knight of Pentacles. Yes, you're creating new patterns. Pentacles have to do with actions that we take that are real, in real time, if we just narrow it down. The Knight of Pentacles is you exploring, doing something in a new way. And for some of you, I feel like you're going to go to like a vacation, or you're going somewhere where it's sort of like tropical weather or warmer weather. And you're just going to take this time that you need, because not everything in your day-to-day has to be like constant working. Many of you might have a decision that comes up like that you're going to start to say, I need to go on vacation, or I need to really nurture myself. I can't continue to feel overpowered by every set of responsibility that I have in the day-to-day, and then there's no playtime. Now, for some of you, you are going to disconnect also from something that, like I said, you're going to say goodbye to a particular lifestyle, but it has to do with the past, and it's connected to a very karmic relationship that is maybe no longer kind of there. But what you realize is that, this is why I was attached to it. This is why I wanted this kind of a lifestyle. So it goes a little bit deeper, but it's nothing too emotional. I feel like I just think that you're going to be in this place where you're going to be able to just disconnect, say goodbye to this old lifestyle pattern, and just move on. Okay. So that's what I see for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is going to be for the next 2 weeks. Last but not least, Pisces and Pisces rising. This is going to be unfolding between your 11th and your 5th house. Let me just go back. I went too far. Okay, here it is. So the 5th house, anything that you feel in love with, things that you vibe with, because it makes your heart happy. Things that bring you joy, whether it is through romantic things, rendezvous, creative pursuits, or your children. That's the 5th house, okay? In a very narrowed down version. The 11th house is anything where you are connecting to, groups or people that you associate with that have the same mindset as you. And this is friends, social world, public reputation tie into all of that. So for Pisces and Pisces rising, I think that many of you have been contemplating how to make a particular announcement. I see several of you are trying to announce, like, I am part of this group, or I am part of this, so I'm associated with this group now. Something like that is happening for many of you. Now, for some of you, it will have to do with friendship changes. These friendship changes, they've been in the making, okay? New friends come in, old friends move out. Yep. Look at this. I can't believe it. I shuffled the cards, you guys. The Empress fell out for Pisces as well. So you have been sort of brewing up this new version of yourself that gives more attention to everything that makes you happy. And with that comes a change in the social circle, okay? A change in the world, how you connect to the world, how you view the world. Now, I feel like I need to pull another card for Pisces and Pisces rising. Yes. Beautiful. The Magician. So I feel that the moment you get through this full moon in Capricorn energy, many of you are going to be in this absolutely new, beautiful chapter of your life that requires for you to just stay open. It will push you to view your life in a way that is, it's actually unknown. Okay, leaning more into the unknown. What I'm getting from these two cards is that you are going to be leaning into the unknown. You are going to sort of, many of you can't really quite even describe what the next sort of several months are going to be all about. And the reason for that is because you may have never felt like this before. You may have never been in this position before because everything is new. And so it requires for you to just receive. The more that you receive, the better the outcome. The more that you take time to really pay attention to all of the things that you want to create, the less that you give power to the people that had a lot of opinions about your life, about how you needed to do something, the better. Okay. So I feel that there is a final decision making that comes with the full moon in Capricorn for you to just let go of a friend circle, let go of a point of view in the world. You're done with it. You can't do that anymore. You can't entertain it anymore. And the moment you do, you start to really open up to a part of your heart that it's going to be a good time. Okay. It is going to be a good time. The most important aspect, especially with the Magician, is for you to recognize that you really do have something significant and something brilliant in front of you that is unfolding, but you have to give it your time and you have to give it your attention and you need to lean into it. And that's what the Empress here is saying, okay? That's what I'm seeing for Pisces and Pisces rising. All right, you guys. This wraps up today's reading. I want to see in the chat real quick who's all here. Hi, Robin. Hi, Shell. Is it Marek? Hi. Is that how I pronounce your name? I know we've never been in the live together here before. From London. That's awesome. Hi, Robin. Well, you guys, thank you for joining me. If you liked what I created here, I want you to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. Ringing the bell helps you out because then it lets you know when I'm here. I'm just so excited to connect to you guys. I hope that you find this reading helpful. It was a general reading. It's not going to be true for every single person, but come back and listen to it. I am going to be timestamping these. Give me a couple hours. I'm going to be timestamping them. Hi, that mixed kid on the block. I like that. I like that. Hi. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Again, my name is Aylin Sky. I am here giving a lot of forecasts. I also focus on other spiritual content. You will see more of some of the things that I want to, discuss in further videos. So stick around, and I will be back the end of this week again with another report, and we're going to go over some other very important things that are happening right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody who is listening on the podcast, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited that you were hanging out with me, and I will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.